Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Win Connections, October 29th to November 1st at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Save $100 by using promo code TECH100 when registering. For more information, go to winconnections.com. Hover.com, domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, welcome to another Tech News Weekly. I'm Andrew Zarian, and I'm joined by Eric Lanigan. How you doing, Eric?
I'm good. How are you?
Not so good. Hanging in. Dealing with a lot of pain. I blew up my back early in the week, and today I'm kind of suffering for it. I spent the entire day at the doctor's office, and I have to go through a whole round of testing. But I know John really doesn't care about that stuff, and he wants to talk about tech news. How you doing, John?
I just imagine Jessica feeding you pills every night.
Oh,
you
that's
just laying in bed and she's just going pop, pop, pop.
I actually prefer to be in a little, like a cereal bowl and just shovel it, just feeding it to me like it's cereal. Just Percocets and Vicodins like it's cereal. No, it's been an awful week for me as far as that goes. But I'm here. I'm hanging in, and I'm excited to do the show because a lot of news this week, and a lot of news out of a company that I'm very surprised to be talking about still. And that's BlackBerry. They had a conference early this week, and they showed a lot of the stuff that we're going to be seeing in BlackBerry 10. And I have to tell you, it looks really good. John is the resident BlackBerry expert. As many of you know, John was part of a pretty successful and large BlackBerry blog for a while. He left there. He's with GFQ now. But, I mean, you're still keeping track of BlackBerry. Tell us what happened this week with BlackBerry.
We had a lot of information that was shown off and leaked. So there's a lot of stuff going on. They have this conference called BlackBerry Jam. I think it was called some stuff before. It was basically their developer conference that they have, I think, almost every year now. I think it's always in September, and it's usually in like California and that sort of area. And so a bunch of developers come together, and this is all really very developer-oriented, what goes on at this conference, because, well, let's face it, BlackBerry really does have to woo their developers into developing for them.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of information, more stuff leaked about BlackBerry 10. They updated their alpha device, which is now like a beta device. So we got to see that, and we got to see a lot more of the operating system and just how it's going to function and work, what apps it has, what changes they made. A lot of cool stuff.
And it's quite impressive. Here's an image of the proposed two of the beta devices, right?
Yeah, there's the BlackBerry L, I think is what it's called, and an N. The N is the QWERTY device. L is the touch screen. And this was from a video that somebody mistakenly posted on Vimeo or something like that. Whoever edited this accidentally uploaded it on Vimeo, and a bunch of people found it, and that's how we see these renderings of the new devices that are possibly coming out next year.
What do you think of this, Eric? You're an iPhone type of guy. Are you interested at all in BlackBerry 10?
No.
At all?
No. Simple answer, unfortunately. I mean, unfortunately, fewer and fewer people are. I mean, by the time it comes out, a lot of companies have already been working on a transition to either a bring your own device model or just, conceding the fact that people want iPhones or they want Android devices and already, or even Windows, and already switching away. It's really going to be tough for BlackBerry, I think, to have the same kind of ecosystem that Google, Amazon, Apple, and even Microsoft have. They're compared to all those other companies, their app store, their media stores, all of this modern things, all the modern stores, basically, like, iTunes Store, Google Play, Amazon, Microsoft's thing about selling apps, and then you sell music, movies, and you take a 30% cut on everything, books. TV shows. They're lagging behind on that, and more that seems to be where the cash is in making these touch-based devices.
Now, even though they are catering themselves and they're positioning themselves as an enterprise device, you still feel that they need an ecosystem that's saturated with media.
Well, you've got everyone else working on the media side. So you've got I mean, we've been talking about for years the consumerization of IT. People are bringing their devices to work with them because they're having new devices that they have at home because they're having a lot of fun with. It used to be that people would just bring home whatever they were given at work, and then they'd start to do stuff that, it became their home laptop, and they learned how to do computing and stuff because their work gave them a laptop or a phone or something. And now it's completely turned on its head. Now people are bringing their devices to work, and they're saying, hey, I've got this great, awesome thing, whether it's an iPhone, an Android, whatever they like. And they say, well, why can't I do business on this? Why are you giving me this other thing that only does the corporate network and does nothing else? Why two devices? Why learn these two things? And maybe it won't make sense to support much longer. Who knows?
It looks like a bizarre hybrid of Android, and the lettering is very similar to Windows Phone. Like, it's this bizarre hybrid of the two.
Well, they even have these things called frames, which is what you see on the screenshot that I provided for you. It has these frames, so kind of like the live tiles for Windows Phone.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely honest, up until I think the information that came out this week from BlackBerry, I was pretty much dead set against it. But now that I've actually watched like this 13-minute video that Engadget has, where they actually go through the device and show you a lot of stuff that it does, I'm a little bit more hopeful about them now, and I think they do legitimately have a shot at redeeming themselves once BlackBerry 10 comes out. I mean, then again, it's going to be hard because if you think about it, in a way, it's almost like they could possibly come back into the market at the right time, where people are kind of fed up with Android, and Android just not getting to the point where it's polished like iPhone is. But at the same time, the iOS experience kind of getting stale.
Yeah.
And you suddenly have this new operating system. So they could possibly peak at the right time with this new operating system, despite the fact that they've been delayed.
Well, let me ask you this, Suncast. Is it enough for them to be just as good? I'm looking here. I see a lot of this story says, it's on par with this and that. Is it enough for BlackBerry to just sustain and not lose their existing customers? Do you think that's what they're going to be doing now, just trying to hold on to their existing customer base, keep those minor upgrades coming, and kind of prolong their inevitable demise, as opposed to really winning brand new customers, winning over diehard customers with just killer features and great ideas and stuff you can't get on any other platform?
Well, they did say that Thorsten Heinz, the new CEO of RIM, did say that he's going to roll everything out in 3 waves, basically.
Yeah.
And the first wave is going to be mid-range to higher-end devices.
Let me see here.
Can I just say one thing, too, about Thorsten Heinz? And this is I mean, people may think that I'm all for BlackBerry right now, but at the same time, I'm not, because Thorsten Heinz says something really odd to me. In this article about BlackBerry 10 rolling out in 3 waves, he says the market in the USA was driven by a tectonic shift to full touchscreens and LTE 4G connectivity in a very short time frame in the enterprise space. I take a lot of issue with that because, let's face it, I think 4G, even in the consumer space, still isn't very popular. I mean, there's a lot of marketing behind it, but if you actually look at how many markets exist for 4G, there's hardly any markets. So I don't see how 4G can be even an issue for BlackBerry at this point. The fact that they're saying, oh, we lost out to other devices that have 4G, I don't think that's even an issue.
Well, marketing is powerful, and I think they jumped on the cell phone carriers jumped on the 4G branding because it's one more than 3G.
Yeah,
and that's
it's
really
simple.
easy to.
Yeah.
And that's really simple for. I mean, people look at Snapdragon 800 megahertz dual core, quad core, triple core. They don't know what any of that means. PowerFX core, triple core. They don't know. 504 mAh battery. No one knows what these specs mean. 4G. That's a lot faster. That's why no one even cares. The average consumer doesn't have any idea or even cares that 4G is not necessarily LTE or that we've totally redefined what 4G means to the point where it's just slightly faster 3G.
Let's look at CPU speed on a mobile device. We're talking about quad core phones, and it's not really necessary, is it?
Right, because ultimately you're limited to what you can pull down from the internet. These phones could process the whole internet and back again before you can download a single page over Edge. I mean, we've got so much CPU that we're just not using because we've got this bottleneck called the network.
But let's look at it like this. The market share is pretty much split up between Android and iOS. Windows Phone obviously is in the mix, but not really. They have a very small percentage of the market.
I think that's kind of the same thing that what's going to happen with BlackBerry. It's going to be a lot of what we've seen from Windows Phone.
But who will it hurt more? Will it hurt Android more, or will it hurt iOS? I say Android.
Possibly.
Because, regardless of what BlackBerry is and how they failed over the last 2 years to adapt to the times, they still have a name and they have a reputation. And even though they had that issue last year with their with security in their servers, but I don't think that's necessarily impacting them in a bad way. Most people have forgotten about that. And when you think of BlackBerry, a lot of these enterprise guys have jumped to iOS because their BlackBerry can't do what iOS can. But now if they can, they might all go back. You know how many people I know that have gone back to BlackBerry because they don't like the touch keyboard? They want a physical keyboard on their phone.
I can understand that.
Still, I'm blown away by this. I have a couple guys that work in the corporate world, and they've all gone back because they don't like typing on glass, and they can't let go.
I think a lot of people just haven't figured out you're not supposed to. It's understandable a little bit because when you're on the non-touch keyboard, a lot of those, especially the older devices, they didn't really have very good autocorrect. You had to be very careful about what buttons you press, just like a standard keyboard. And when they made the transition to the glass keyboard, they were like so careful to hunt and peck and find just the right letter. They didn't notice the fact. I mean, it took me a long time to sort of learn that you just kind of close your eyes and just type randomly, and the software is good enough that it's going to interpolate what you meant to type. And a lot of those hardware keyboards, rather, with the little tiny keys, the little chiclet keys, I found don't even work as well with autocorrect. I find some of those tiny keyboards actually a lot harder to type on than an autocorrecting glass screen.
So what do you guys think it's going to come down to? Honestly, how can this device, both BlackBerry devices that are going to be released, the L and what was the other one, John?
The L and the N.
The L series and
those
I N.
I think those are basically the code names.
The
for
London
right
and I forgot what it was. London and Navarro?
I have no idea.
I've got the code name. Regardless, what do these devices have to have, and what does BlackBerry 10 have to have to survive in the market? What can they do, or can they not do anything, and it's just going to be how they're marketed? I'll go to John first.
They have to be on par with the Android devices that are out there in the iPhone. They have to be. They have to have competitive specs.
But do you think that's enough for them? I mean, they have to go beyond. And I don't know how they can. As far as, let's say, the operating system, in order to survive, when these reviewers, when these bloggers, the technorati gets a hold of this phone, they cannot turn around and say, you know what, this device would have been great if it was fast. It's a little sluggish.
But that comes down to hardware too, and I think I did see some blogs were saying that because there was a lot of opportunity at BlackBerry Jam for blog sites to get their hands and see a demo of the new BlackBerry devices. And let's face it, at this point in time, they still have probably 5-6 months before they're actually going to release these new BlackBerry 10 devices. So what you see now and what you see being reported now as far as it being sluggish probably is not going to be the same as what you see when it officially launches. It's going to have some updated specs. I don't know if you saw, I did include a possible leaked screenshot of specifications for the L that's going to be launching on Verizon. And judging by that, it actually looks like a pretty decent device.
Forgive this stupid question, Suncast, but do they make their own hardware, or do they use like a white label provider like an Asus or an HTC, and then they just put their name on it?
I believe they make everything themselves, other than the components that go in there, because I know they're using I think they're using like Qualcomm for a bunch of the CDMA stuff.
Okay, well then my answer is I think they probably will eventually get out of the hardware business because they just, it's what I said earlier. It's what Andrew's saying too. They can't just be as good. They've got to be better. There's got to be some compelling reason. And right now,
I don't think BlackBerry's ever going to be better though. I really don't.
It used to be for a lot of people. It used to be before the iPhone and before the transition to the touchscreen, like the BlackBerry guy was saying. But I wouldn't be surprised if they realized that they're lacking in so many other areas that they're just going to become a software platform and partner with like an HTC or some kind of hardware developer, and maybe even become a service or a software suite that runs on top of Android or something that they can sell to businesses.
I feel like they were going to go that route. I really felt for a while they were going to just jump to Android and just skin it, much like how Amazon is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't go that route. I was very surprised.
But like I said in the beginning of this, is that, up until I saw that 13-minute video that was posted on Gadget, I was kind of done with BlackBerry, and now I can see that there's definitely some hope out there for the brand and for the operating system, because there was a lot of unknowns about exactly how this is going to work, and I think some of the features are pretty intuitive and pretty cool to use.
I'm interested in it, and it's surprising that I am, because I've never owned a BlackBerry. I've never owned I never wanted to. I went straight from a Palm Trio. I was a Trio guy for a long time. I went to Windows Mobile for a very short period, then straight to Android. And I absolutely hate Android. I think it's awful.
The sad thing in all of this is that they're still probably at least 4 to 6 months out from launching this.
Yeah, and anything could happen in those 4 to 6 months, right?
And that's still a ridiculously long time for people to wait for these new devices.
Yeah.
I also think Microsoft is just letting them run their cash completely out. They're letting them run themselves into the ground, and only when they hit rock bottom, they'll swoop in with some kind of a lowball offer and offer to take their patents and their enterprise security software off their hands and incorporate that into the Microsoft phone or Windows Phone platform. That could also happen.
It's almost weird because, we talk about BlackBerry failing, but at the same time, I have some stats here. Let me see if I can find the number. They have like 80 million users of BlackBerry, 80 million worldwide, and that's a lot of people, because we're in a different era here in North America where BlackBerry has really not been focused whatsoever here in North America, but in a lot of other countries and third world type of places, they're a lot more focused on those type of consumers.
So do you think they could do well overseas?
Absolutely.
Usually it's not. It's usually not the high-end phones that sell the best in developing countries.
No, but the fact that they have a fairly large user base overseas, that the fact is that they're not going to be down and out as easily as people think. It really is going to be a similar experience to the rebirth of Windows Phone.
Yeah, I hope. I really do, because the more competition that's in this marketplace, the better it is, because I'm tired of it being an Android or iOS war.
Oh, certainly. And that's a good thing to point out. All this doom and gloom, it's not what either of us would like. Competition is good. Lots of innovation is good. I don't like seeing it become a Coke and Pepsi war of Apple and Google, or this thing where only two companies own the patents. AT&T and Verizon, and it's just two companies battling each other for control of like a 1% competition of margin, where no one agrees to really change the landscape because they know it would kill both of them. Let's hope they can pull this off.
I want to go into the map issue that Apple is having right now with iOS. There was an apology issued today, right?
Yes.
What do you make of that? Do you find it actually a little bizarre that they released this application with it not being fully completed? Initially when people were complaining, they said, well, it's just the first phase of it. It's going to continue to grow, much like anything else. The first one is never as good as the next one, and we're just going to keep getting better. And then today there was an apology saying, like, yeah, we kind of dropped the ball here. Eric, what do you make of it, the mapping software that they're using?
I haven't seen the official apology yet. I did see the headline that Tim Cook had some kind of apology, so that's certainly unusual for Apple. Usually it's the other way around. They say, well, you just don't appreciate it yet. You just don't get it. I think considering that their installed base, their customer base, the people, so many people who use these maps, and it was one of their favorite features of the iPhone. And then, I mean, location services, mapping services, that kind of stuff is crucial on modern smartphones. And the iPhone kind of started that whole trend. I think they really should have gotten this more fully baked before they released it.
What's fascinating is that initially when the reports came out on why they were dropping Google's mapping service, it was like, oh, well, Apple doesn't want to play nice with Google, and they're dropping it, poor Google. And then you find out it was a total opposite. They wanted to do turn-by-turn navigation on iOS devices, and Google said no. They didn't want to let that go. They couldn't come to an agreement, so Apple had to go and do their own service. And I found that to be very interesting, that it was Google that wasn't playing with them.
It's almost a no-win situation in a way, I think, because they were, in my opinion, I think they were kind of forced to do this because Google didn't want to play ball and didn't want to do these features that Apple wanted to be included in the iOS version. So they were almost, in a way, forced to do their own version. In a way, I think they were kind of caught off guard by that. And so, for whatever reason, I think they did kind of drop the ball on the transition between Google Maps and their own version.
I mean, there's always going to be hiccups, but I think these are major problems. And even in New York City, being, you would expect there to be no mistakes with a city like New York or Chicago or Los Angeles.
You would expect less mistakes from a company like Apple.
I saw the Brooklyn Bridge. Did you see the Brooklyn Bridge photo, the 3D rendering?
Oh, the fact that it was going into another dimension.
It was like warped. It was like this bizarre thing.
There were a lot of them. Like, I looked a couple blocks away, like I was playing around with it, and I was looking at a couple blocks away from me, and like certain locations did not exist. Like, streets were totally missing.
That's weird.
So who do you blame? Do you blame TomTom? Because they're using TomTom as their mapping service. And TomTom says, no, it's not us.
Maybe I didn't follow this closely enough. I thought they were using that free one. What's that free, Open Maps or something?
Open Street Maps?
I thought they were also using TomTom.
I thought they were using TomTom too.
Right. They were using TomTom. TomTom came in for their turn-by-turn directions.
Yeah.
I think they're providing the engine for that at least. But there's something going on with OpenStreetMaps, because remember they had this thing where OpenStreetMaps did a public release that said, thanks, Apple, but you're not following our rules, so please comply with our rules. But other than that, thanks for joining.
Yeah. I found this very interesting, and this is not the first time we have seen Apple release something that's not completed. Siri, Mobile Me. Well, let's say iCloud, the first time they released. Yeah, no, Mobile Me. Yeah, that was not a good release. The mapping software and even their podcasting app is awful.
You talking about the new one in iOS 6?
It's so bad. It's really bad.
I just switched over and started using it a few days ago. I've seen some bugs. I caught some bugs today where it claimed it downloaded the podcast but didn't. What kind of stuff do you not like about it?
I think the UI is a little convoluted. I don't think it's self-explanatory. Like, you got to click the wording that they use for certain things, like station, but it's not really a station.
Yeah, why do they prioritize those so much?
Yeah.
It's like ever since like iTunes 1.0, they've had this bizarre random selection of streaming FM radio stations, and I don't know how you get into that or how you get listed there. But then they promoted as much as podcasts. There's way more podcasts.
Are you happy with iOS 6?
Well, I have the iPhone 4, so I didn't get all the features yet, and I haven't really looked around a whole lot into it. I see a lot of changes, like the bar at the top became blue instead of black. I mean, little things that are it's clearly just change for change's sake. I think some of the menu items became light gray instead of white. Silly things like that. I don't think you need to change that kind of thing. But the podcast app, I like the changes to the forward and back skipping. I mean, you guys probably don't like it because it allows people to skip the ads, which is not good for podcasters. But on the listener side, and it's good for some things. The 10-second skip, you can now do 1.5x, 2x, and 3x for podcasts. It used to just be 1.5x, but they called it 2x. the interface did get weird with that whole. They've got a magnetic tape on a reel, and with the head, then the head jiggles when you hit stop.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but they added some good features at least. That's the least you can say. And they added synchronizing with iTunes. That's the one complaint I've always had too, is that you've always basically had to do your podcast management through iTunes, and you couldn't really even successfully delete a podcast on the phone and have that sync back. It would actually put the deleted one back onto the phone. So some improvements in the features, but yeah, some kind of weird steps in the interface.
I haven't updated my wife's phone yet. I'm holding off because there were some issues initially with the update, so I just downloaded and I just let it sit there. I updated my iPad, and I've been using it on my iPad, but I'm going to probably update it tonight and play around with it over the weekend on the iPhone. I think I'm getting an iPhone 5 though. I think I'm gonna upgrade. Yeah, no. Well, I have another line. I think I'm just gonna get one for that other line and just have it.
What carrier? Verizon.
Verizon. Yeah.
Oh no! Wait a minute. Tell me this, because I may eventually get one too, but I'm trying to figure out the whole carrier issue. Last week I think you said that in New York City that AT&T was better for NYC coverage.
Yeah, but
Did that change?
No. AT&T is better in my opinion. In my area, it's better. I'm just gonna say where I am right now, it's better than Verizon, because Verizon I have no service with, but we have Verizon because we've had Verizon for a while and we just never switched over. So, and I have an extra line.
I got you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a financial reason why I'm sticking with them. I actually like AT&T service a little bit better than Verizon, which is surprising to say. Really weird.
Yeah.
Nook. New Nooks were announced. John, you want to run down this?
Not really.
The Nook. There was a new Nook tablet, Nook HD, and Nook HD Plus. The pricing goes from $249 for the HD, $199 for the tablet, and $269 for the HD Plus. It's a 9-inch display, HD Plus, 256 PPI, Android 4.0. Very interesting. It's running 4.0 and not the latest version. Dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, 1 gig of memory, 16 gigs of storage, 16/32 plus micro SIM. SD, and it's about, the same as it is, but they did some improvements to this. Will this affect the Kindle Fire sales? People have always said that the Nook was a better device. I don't know how true that is.
It's interesting because I think the Nook is more of a under the radar type of device where you really didn't see a whole lot of hype or marketing for this event. The fact that these were announced, it was just kind of like under the radar, where it's like, oh, they have new Nooks out too? Wow.
It looks good. It looks really good. It seems more Android-ish than what Amazon is putting out. I don't know if you saw that.
Of course, because Amazon does the whole skin thing.
They're doing a weird carousel also.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What is up with the carousel? Why do they want that?
I haven't seen. I don't know what you're talking about actually, but I've totally bought into the Kindle ecosystem, and as much as I hate the digital rights management, as much as I hate it being locked into, I've never liked that idea. If I bought a book, it's on my shelf. I can loan it to people. I can do anything I want with it because it's a book, and you can open it and you can read it, and there's no formatting and there's no digital rights management. I've never liked the idea that you spend the same money, but you're locked into one company's product line, and you just better hope that they don't go out of business or change their products in the way that you don't like, that would cause you to, or go expensive or something. Having said that, I got my first black and white Kindle last year, and man, my eyes were opened up then to all the things Kindle does, and they've added a lot of new features too. The new Whisper Sync is really cool. The way that it synchronizes your audiobooks, your Audible books, to what you're reading. I haven't used that yet. I can see that would be awesome for someone learning English for the first time or something, or any other language, I guess. But I don't know if you've noticed, but Audible.com now, because it's an Amazon-owned company, they have some specials now where they encourage you to buy the Kindle edition for like $9.99, and in exchange then they'll basically give you the audiobook for little or nothing, for like half price, to the point where I've gotten some like heavy nonfiction books that I was worried I wouldn't, comprehend as well, or through audio that I want to go back and underline or something. And it's really great to just say, synchronize this now, show me where this is in the Kindle edition, and it comes up. Same with the Kindle app. I can't endorse Apple's iBooks at all because it's only on their platform. If you're in the Kindle ecosystem, you've got your books on every platform in existence, including just HTML5 in a web browser. And of course, I would have killed for this in high school and college, where doing all those literary essays, man, to just be able to search for books. I used to just sit there and think, someday, we're going to be able to just search and find the quote that you remembered reading.
I know.
And now it's just so freaking simple. It's not fair. But because you have those abilities, and because Amazon has just implemented it so well, and really for a decent price, I have to give them, that's the endorsement I have to give for if you're picking an ebook system to go with them. And so when I see these new Nooks, I say, well, it's nice, but unless they have this whole ecosystem to go with it, nothing's going to compel me to buy a Nook.
I see. This is the thing. I think it depends on what ecosystem you were in initially, and what you get for Christmas. I think a lot of people walk into Barnes & Noble and they'll pick up a Nook, and that's what you're going to be in. And that's what you'll be in for the rest of your life. I don't think anybody that gets a Nook
what do they
is
have to
about
offer besides, their tablet?
Yeah, see, this is the thing.
Kindle Fire has Amazon behind it.
And that's the advantage. But I think the advantage that the Nook has is the fact that they're in stores. And I think that goes a long way. You're going into Barnes.
You can go to Office Depot or Office Max and get a Kindle Fire.
Couple stores recently dropped the Kindles for some reason. Target did, and I think someone at Walmart dropped all the Amazon products.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage. And a lot of people are missing that. You walk into a Barnes & Noble, and this is your exact market share. This is who you're targeting, is people looking to read. And they have the Nooks right on the front, and it says $199. You're like, you know what? That's not bad. And you get into that ecosystem, and you're in there for the rest of your life, or whatever, Not really the rest of your life. Don't quote me on that, please. I know I'm gonna get that email. On episode 106 on Tech News Weekly, you said the rest of your life, but I had a Nook for 3 weeks.
Yeah, frankly, I would not place a bet on Nook's long-term existence, really, even on that store's existence. Yeah, and that's what scares you about DRM. I think Amazon at least is in a good enough financial situation that they're going to easily be one of the first 100-year-old internet companies, I believe, because they're just so diversified and they're doing so well in so many markets, and they've got so much power. They're more scary. They're going to be the monopoly to worry about soon enough, if not already. But also it just hit me. The Kindle books also have that underlining the most popular quotes. Can you imagine if you were back in school and you had to write papers and you couldn't find the quotes, and you've got the ones that everyone has underlined in the world, like 5,000 students have underlined this passage, and you can just say, oh, I'll use that one.
I remember when I was in school, I had to do a whole thing for Holocaust Lit, and we had to do it was a year-long project, and it shows how far we've gotten when it comes to research. And they wanted only, out of the hundreds of documents you had to research and print and get newspapers and find books, find articles at the library, you could only do 2 internet sources. Only 2. You were only allowed to do 2. This is the year 2000. I mean, in the last 12 years, I cannot imagine a school saying, hey, listen, you can't use the internet to do your research. Can you imagine if the school says, well, listen, the quotes, you can't use a Kindle Fire or a Nook to read. You got to use an actual book.
You can't use Wikipedia.
You can't use Wiki, yeah. It was Encarta in my time. We at least had Encarta. Remember kids would actually, let's say you had to do something like Alexander Hamilton and the Great Plan, and they would literally just copy and paste the entire Encarta article and just give that in as a book report, and nobody knew.
Oh yeah, well no, I never did that one, but I was one day it hit me in school that like in like 5th and 6th grade or even before that's what a report was. You'd look up an encyclopedia article and you'd write it in your own words, but you were just utterly plagiarizing, and kids just don't know any better. And then you get to a certain point, you're like, you can't do that, and you're like, what? And now you have to learn how to write an article and do research. Before that, you just like rewrite line by line, just change a couple of words, and that was acceptable.
Just quote everything. Then you're not plagiarizing if you're quoting.
Yeah, quote at the beginning, and a quote
at
the
end. That's it.
Cite your source, done. Easy A.
MySpace redesigned their website, MySpace's new owner, Justin Timberlake, teased a new revamp to the MySpace. If you go to new.myspace.com, and you could see some of the changes to MySpace. Is it over? I think it's over, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that they could do. I mean, there's nothing that they could do.
I mean, promoting bands. By the way, did you hear how I think Universal Music is now going to own 50% of all recorded music on the planet?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's scary. They bought EMI, or they merged or something. So I think we're going to see a lot more. I mean, since the internet has gotten big like this, I mean, indie bands and indie labels and even the word indie has just exploded. And so there is a definite need for tools that help new bands get out there and have a slick and attractive page to find their music and discover them. MySpace does have a lot of street cred with bands. But whether MySpace has any relevance even now, I don't know. And I don't think they would, if they want to do a social network that goes to regular people, like that really competes with Facebook and Google Plus, I think that'd be a terrible idea.
I mean, it seems like what they're doing is they're trying to target well, first of all, again, this looks like...
Well, they're talking about going back to the roots and sticking to the roots and doing the whole music stuff.
Well,
that's really what they want to focus on.
It looks like Pinterest, and it just looks like Pinterest going sideways.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it looks like to me. It's interesting. I mean, listen, it's a new approach, but I guess this is what they're going to do with a small Pinterest. Did I say that wrong?
Wait, you said something weird. Yeah,
Pinterest.
I think you swapped the letter.
Pinterest. It's not Pinterest? Whatever. I don't care. I'm not making posts about my new Gucci bag today. That's all that stupid website is anyway. Like, oh, look, I got a Fendi purse. I don't know if they can survive. I guess they'll have the small market share.
They might pick up a few people here and there. They might have like a small resurgence of people that want to check it out right when they launch. But I think it's going to be kind of like a Google situation where they have waves or whatever it is that they launch, but then once the initial hype is gone, then they're basically back to being non-existent.
Yeah, but
I mean, they could do something totally crazy and basically become like an incubator and a label for new bands or something. They could do that, and we'd still call it MySpace, and you'd still see articles saying, "Is MySpace back?" And it'd be, well, no, it's something totally different. They just use the same name, MySpace.
You have so many other services out there that kind of do everything better. You have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have YouTube. That's where people are. If you're not on any of those services and you're trying to be a band to promote yourself and you're not on those services, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, but does it really help? I know so many. At one point, it did. A lot of the bands were doing really well, and it helped them get exposure. But when everybody's a band and everybody's promoting themselves, I don't think it really matters at that point.
If you want to have a core following, yeah.
I find it amazing that people are still using that.
You can have a core following, get a core following, and have them help those people help you promote yourself with whatever it is that you want to move on to doing.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I mean, there's a lot of people, like if you look at users on YouTube that are just trying to start out and have some sort of a career, if they did not have followers on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, they wouldn't be as big as they are now.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Samsung had a major vulnerability where it would remote wipe your Galaxy S3. Owners of the Galaxy S2
basically
and 3.
Any Samsung device. Any Samsung device.
Yeah, anything with TouchWiz. It affects every TouchWiz, where a little piece of code on a website could potentially wipe everything off your phone. This is a big story, and I'm surprised it didn't get as much coverage as I thought it would. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys feel that way? Because I think that there was a little blurb about this, and it kind of went away, but this is a major, major vulnerability. I believe they patched it now. They sent the patch through, but
they patched it for the S3, the Galaxy S3, but I don't think they've have a patch yet for the other devices.
So it's a flaw of TouchWiz.
Yeah.
And
what happens is that there you can execute code on a website or whatever it is that you want to use as the payload, and the fact is that the dialer, when you enter code through the dialer, you don't necessarily have to hit send to complete it.
Jeez. That's amazing. Samsung appears to be the only Android phone affected by this. I guess that's good, but they had a major problem with that.
Do you remember the old bug with like the first like Android G1 or something, where if you typed the command like restart or some kind of Unix terminal command or Linux terminal command, like in any program, including like the SMS messenger, it would actually perform that command because everything you typed was being entered directly into the command line?
I think if you do // your SIM card pops out of your Samsung phone. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. Everybody's SIM card just flies right out. There's also, that's kind of stay on Samsung, there's also a big event that they're holding here in New York City, October 24th at 7 p.m. They're showing...
Well, that's their quote.
Yeah, the next big thing is here. It kind of looks like a stylus to me. But it doesn't. It on the side, it kind of looks like a stylus, like a pen.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I see that now. I see the nub.
Do you see that little nub right there?
Yeah.
Probably not a pen. That's what we're seeing. But they're saying that it's the a variant of the Galaxy Note 2 or a new Galaxy Note tablet. Is that a big deal?
Well, it's the next big thing, and it's here.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, why? I thought the Note was out, but why do we? It's bizarre. Way too many announcements.
This is the thing right here. Is that how long ago did the Galaxy Note come out? And here they are coming out with Galaxy Note 2. It's been 6 months.
Yeah, but the Note came out. The Note came out already. The Galaxy Note 2, AT&T has it.
This is my whole problem with Android is that you have the Galaxy Note, an Android device. 6 months later, you have the Galaxy Note 2.
That's why it's the next best. That's the next big thing.
It's the Note 3.
Why do you need another freaking device 6 months later with the same damn name?
They're just
saturating.
saturating.
And then a week from now, it'll be the next big thing. And the week from after that, it'll be the next big thing. And it's just always the next big thing is here.
Well, that's my whole problem with Android is that there's 6 months down the road, you're going to have another big thing. It's going to be yet another Android device that people may or may not care about. It's going to be something that 6 months down from there, nobody's going to give a crap about.
So there was some news that came out. You know, the suppliers have been really secretive about pricing on Windows 8 devices. We really have not gotten an answer when it comes to pricing and how they're going to structure it. We could only assume at this point, but it seems like Lenovo is one of the first ones to leak a legitimate pricing structure for their ThinkPad Tablet 2 running Windows 8. They're saying it's going to be about $799. Is
that for the Intel one?
No. Is this Intel?
I hope it
yes,
is.
Yes, it is. Well, unlike the two versions of the Surface running RT on Tegra, Windows 8 is a full-fledged ultrabook grade Intel i5. The tablet 2 runs a full version of Windows 8.
It's $799 with an additional $199 for its keyboard cover.
For the keyboard, but listen, that's not bad. It's better than the $1,200 everybody's saying that these devices are going to be.
Whoa, wait, I missed this. That we're talking about the little membrane keyboard. It's $200.
No, not that. Not the Surface keyboard. Well, is it the same kind of keyboard? No, I think it's a full dock.
It's very not a lot of information here to go on, other than you have the name of a product and a price to go along with it.
No, I think it's a full dock. I think it's a foldable dock tab.
But no, it just says keyboard cover.
Yeah, cover.
Keyboard cover.
That's not a dock.
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
God.
I see it. Well, it comes with a variety of accessories are available for it. Yeah, so I guess they're gonna price it at $199. But it's a Pro version, so this is encouraging because the RT version will be significantly less than $799. And that's a great thing. I think that's great, and that's great that we kind of have this idea of what the pricing is going to be like. Because if that's $799 for an i7, this would probably be between $299, $399, I would assume, for an RT device. And I think that's a great price point to be in.
Why?
Sure.
Why? Because it's below the iPad, and it sets itself apart from Android. So it's kind of competitive. It's competing with both, but it's better than both. And as far as if you look at pricing structure to compete with the iPad and the actual device to compete with Android. I think it's in a good position. And listen, I think a lot of people are against Apple. I think a lot of people have this weird thing where they don't want to get an Apple device. They don't like Apple for whatever it is, and they're going to go with this device. I think this is where Microsoft...
Nexus 7.
A lot of people don't like the Nexus.
You get an Ultrabook.
A lot of people don't want that. They want a tablet. What are you going to do when your grandmother says, I want to get a tablet? Give them one of these. You can't get one.
Grandma doesn't need a $600 tablet.
Maybe your grandmother doesn't, but mine does.
This would be good for corporate rollouts. I mean, having a PC or it's a laptop replacement that is also a tablet. It's sort of for corporate upgrade cycles. It's your laptop and an iPad rolled into one is how they can kind of pitch it to the employees. I think that'll be successful. That is a market that has, it's a niche market, but it's a big one. That kind of corporate market that just wants a easy to roll out Windows-based product that also has a tablet capability.
You know what I would like them to do, and I was surprised that this wasn't a big push with what they were doing in Windows 8. But when you're using the stylus, there's latency, but it's with you writing it and you actually touching it.
I hate that.
You know what I mean? I don't know the exact words, but let's just call it latency. I was hoping, and there was a demo a while ago at CES saying like it kills it and it's totally accurate. Whatever you write is right there. There's like a couple milliseconds of a delay. I really thought that would be a big push for Microsoft to say, like, look, when you write on the iPad or you write on Android, there's a couple second delay. It's really annoying. But when you write on our devices, this is the standard. Everything has to be, real time, whatever. I was really surprised we didn't get that rolled out this year. Because if they're targeting enterprise with that would be a good angle for them.
I'm sorry, you said they didn't market it that way, or we haven't even seen it?
We haven't even seen it. We haven't even seen it. I thought that would be part of their marketing, like that we would get that, but we didn't.
Yeah, I'm surprised that styluses and have you ever seen like the behind the scenes of like what Family Guy and South Park and these animation studios are doing now? They've all moved to that drawing directly on the screen. I'm surprised the professional artists, and probably comic books and stuff too, I don't know. But I'm surprised the professional artists, as well as just any business person who wants to handwrite notes on their Windows tablet and have it, save. I'm surprised people are comfortable with that long delay, that when you make a pen stroke, there's that little delay where it's like following you like an inch behind. I hate that. I can't write like that.
Yeah, I hate that too. Yeah, I don't know how to write, so I'm lying. Let's do our picks of the week, guys. Picks of the week. Who's going to go first this week?
I can go first if you want. You have my website pulled up in the graphic.
I will have your website pulled up. So why don't you go into it?
All right. So my pick of the week is the website where I pretty much get most of my picks of the week from. It's called addictivetips.com. Like I said, this is where I get a lot of my tips and picks from, a lot of applications. It's a really, really, really cool website. It's got a lot of articles on there every single day. So if you're in like iPhone stuff, Android stuff, Windows 8 applications, basically any kind of software, they have it posted there. Anything that comes out that's new. It's really cool. It has a lot of picks on there that I grab from all the time. It's really well designed. It's really well written. They always have great screenshots of whatever it is that they're writing about. And that's my pick of the week. It's addictivetips.com.
Very cool. Eric, you're up.
That's a meta pick. It's a meta tip. My pick of the week is a fun one, Borderlands 2 for Xbox 360, PS3, and of course the PC. So this is a first-person shooter. I never played the first Borderlands. I didn't quite get it, and now I get it. And it took me a while to get into this and to get into their system and how it works, but now I'm really into it. Basically, it's like a loot game. It's like a exploration and adventure game, like a Zelda game or like an RPG. I've never been a big RPG guy. Never got into the whole World of Warcraft thing with the questing and stuff. But it's kind of like that, except that all your missions are based on first-person shooting mechanic. Instead of wielding a sword or other weaponry, it's all guns. And they advertise they have a bazillion guns, which I actually have a complaint about, but I'll get back to that in a minute. But it's cell shaded, which gives it a cool look. Unfortunately, it shows the consoles are really showing their age. Because I mean, I play on the Xbox, and the frame rate at best is 30. Certainly not 60. Sometimes it slows even beyond that. But it still looks good. It's a very interesting visual style. It's a totally open world map. And so, like a Zelda game or one of those open world adventure games, you're walking around, and there are story quests you could go on, but there's also side quests and side missions. Then you can get special upgrades and things by completing basically a side quest. And again, even no matter whether you're shooting robots, people, or giant snow monsters, it's all the first-person shooter mechanic. As you can see in this trailer that you got going now, your character, you can choose from one of 4 player classes, and then upgrade various characters too. You have like the gun berserker, who's just like a strong, like double gun wielder. You got like the psychic girl who can manipulate people with their minds. So there's like different superpowers you can do. I got the guy who's like does sniping and invisibility. So there's like various things like that. And so you can quest. There's I haven't done the multiplayer yet, but I've heard the co-op is fantastic. You can do quests with your friends, and it'll upgrade just like if they were playing single player individually. It'll upgrade their stats and their progress in the single player mode as well. There's a whole, like, you can buy like another like $50 upgrade pack for like new missions that I guess get added to the open world over the next year, which is pretty cool. Kind of like how Call of Duty adds content over the next year to beef up, make a whole separate game. It's funny too. I've seen a lot of video games say that, it's very funny, and it's like, this is stupid. It's just, I actually laughed at this a lot of times. They have actually a very funny script and funny characters.
Yeah, they say the writing is really good for it.
It is, and I can say it definitely is. I enjoyed it. I love that little robot that runs around and acts like an idiot with the one eyeball. What else? My one complaint is the inventory system. You really have to be into an inventory system to appreciate this game, and I hate inventory systems. And this one is not very good. I've played other games like, I remember Crysis 2 and like Modern Warfare. Some of these first-person shooters, they give you a better indication. They have a bazillion guns, like they said. There's so many guns, you can't remember what they do. I mean, there's like hundreds, and they say that's the fun of it, but then it's really hard to figure out which gun is better than any other gun. It's really hard to compare one to the other, and you only carry a very limited amount in your backpack at once. So you're constantly finding these things, and I constantly have to run back to the vending machines that pop up, and you have to sell back certain guns that you find and sell back shields and upgrades that you just find on the ground, but they're not as good as what you're carrying. But it's really hard to tell. They don't give you nice graph or visual system to see what's better. Maybe eventually that'll click and I'll understand how that works. But overall, it's fun. It's a world you want to explore and you want to look for loot, even though, it's as silly as that is to walk through a video game virtual world and look for hidden items. They make it fun because it's a fun place to explore and you never know what's coming next. So I think that's cool. And again, I did not play the first one. I jumped into the Borderlands 2 because I read reviews that said that it's better and improved in the first in a number of ways. So maybe they did. So that is my pick, Borderlands 2.
I'm going to pick this up this weekend because it looks great.
It's a good one.
Looks really good. Handsome Jack is the villain, from what I know. Right? Am I wrong?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have no idea who that is, but he comes into your radio and says mean things every now and then. Taunts you.
My pick this week is something that we use here at the network. I might have done this a long time ago, but I haven't done this pick in a while. And somebody recently asked me what we use to stream our audio feed. And we use something called BUTT. BUTT. It stands for Broadcast Using This Tool. It's open source. You can get it at butt.sourceforge.net. It's been around for a long time. Suncast, you turned me on to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's compatible. It runs on Mac, Linux, Windows. It supports Icecast and Shoutcast servers. And it's pretty good. I mean, it's really solid. It works. You don't really need to do much more than that. Very simple looking UI. You put in the info and it works. And that's my pick. It's BUTT, Broadcast Using This Tool.
Was it developed by 8-year-olds?
Yeah,
what
I
is
think
the
so.
deal with that?
I think so.
It's an old program that
Very
I don't
old.
think has really been updated in a long time, but that's because it just does what it needs to do.
Yeah, it does a great job at it. It does a great job. And that's my pick. Very simple.
Cool.
Suncast turned me on to BUTT. What can I say? What can I say? Go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. If you miss any portion of the show, you can check it out there. For all things Eric Lanigan, you can go to ericlanigan.com. Also, you can follow him on Twitter at Eric Lanigan. Suncast is on Twitter at Suncast, and I'm Andrew Zarian on Twitter. Suncast also has another website. It's called Amadeus, where he highlights up-and-coming musicians and artists from YouTube. For more information, go to amadeus.com. Spell it out for me, Suncast, because we all know I can't write or spell.
AMADAIS.com.
Excellent. Amadeus. And that's it for this week, guys. If you have any questions, send us an email, guysfromqueens@gmail.com. And we'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.